Here's the big revelation. Steve only uses his shovel to mine on Final Destination. That's it. One shovel versus the entire meta of Ultimate. What's up guys, Hbox here, and there has been a new technique discovered for Steve, and it's big enough to actually change the rule set. But there's a lot more to it than you might think, and I'll tell you how. First, let's take a look at this video from Manny, which is of course one of the best Steve players, and I believe the best Steve in Mexico. I don't know if it's pronounced Manny or Manny, but he's had some good results recently. Take a look at this video. Rigby chooses Battlefield, but remembers a special feature of Steve's that only works in certain scenarios. One of these being Final Destination. Steve only uses the shovel to mine. Spargo did not know about this. We already know the outcome of this game. Both Steves are mining the same amount of resources after crafting. This greatly affects the durability of the tool and gives a huge advantage. It is urgent that TOs around Mexico implement these rules, because then they say that if it isn't written down, it can't be done. PMLG and MLG are prohibited, and if it's done, it results in an instant DQ and a ban from the tournaments. Planking is prohibited, and if done, it results in a DQ to losers, and if committed on losers, a DQ outside the tournament. Steve cannot change the stages to Omega Form or Battlefield. And like this tactic, there are more things that can give a huge advantage when playing the best character in the game. If I apply them, I will realize it and I will come and show them to you. This video is merely informative. Several top players asked me, and some were even unaware that Steve had a shovel when mining. It's a reminder that anyone can send me a message and I will answer any questions they may have. Video made in 30 minutes, XD, I'm sleepy. So, I did some digging of my own to answer the following question. How does Steve's neutral B mine change based on the stage? There are 5 types of terrain when it comes to mining. And if you remember the Sakurai video when he was first introducing Steve, the Sakurai Presents, those 5 types are dirt, wood, stone, iron, and neutral. The type of terrain changes the order of resources that you mine, as well as a tool used to mine. Steve is able to mine with his shovel, axe, or pickaxe. You might notice it's kind of random which one he pulls out to actually mine those resources. Just like using any other move with a tool that depletes its durability, mining also weakens the durability of this tool. Every surface in the game has a terrain type applied to it, just like how grass is different on parts of Pokemon Stadium but not the entire stage. Many stages that are a bit plain can have also a full terrain applied to it. Steve uses his pickaxe when mining on stone and iron surfaces. Steve uses his axe when mining on wooden surfaces. And finally, Steve mines with his shovel on all other miscellaneous surfaces, including dirt. Pokemon Stadium 2, without transformations, has the entire terrain as stone type. The main stage on Fountain of Dreams is dirt, but the platforms are actually stone type. It's weird to think how many different quirky, terrains might exist on a stage that you might not even expect, but that's kind of how Sakurai programmed Ultimate, probably to make the Steve players happy. The only stages that use this special neutral type are the 3 battlefields and Final Destination. While neutral terrain had its own set resource order for mining, they use different tools. Steve uses the pickaxe on Battlefield and shovel on FD. But now, let's look at the Battlefield and Omega stage versions, where the terrain matches that of the source Battlefield or FD. If Steve picked Battlefield, he'd be mining with a pickaxe. If Steve instead picked the Battlefield version of FD, Steve will instead mine with the shovel. This makes the Battlefield version of FD far superior. The pickaxe is the weapon Steve uses for a lot of his best moves, such as back air. By mining with the pickaxe, you're weakening the durability, so you'll end up having your pickaxe break much sooner when you start attacking with it. So if you mine with the pickaxe, then back air a few times on the shield, eventually it's going to break, probably in like 4 or 5 hits. But by using only the shovel to mine, that pickaxe, that diamond pickaxe that you made, ends up being in pristine, untouched condition, and you can whale that shield probably 15 times. Except now, with the Battlefield version of FD, you'll be mining with the shovel the entire time. Since the shovel is not used for any of Steve's attacking moves, it's best to put the wear and tear from your mining onto the shovel instead of the pickaxe, and that's how it works. A simple, clever switch of things allows Steve to essentially not have to worry about breaking his most important tool, and especially his best move, which is arguably Diamond Back Air. It gives Steve's almost 4 times as many Diamond Back Air attempts as before. It would be like giving Robin Levin's sword, but having it last 4 times as long in a certain way. It's kind of actually the same idea if you think about it. When I saw this video myself, I realized that, of course, it was kind of wonky, the fact that you have to use a specific version of Battlefield. A lot of times people will be using their own variants of the stage just because they look cooler, this and that. In this case, I argue that a lot of times tournaments usually enforce pretty strictly to use the exact version of the stage as listed, which would be Battlefield, vanilla variant, FD vanilla variant. You can't use Omegas or Battlefield variants of certain things because it's come to show that the variants of the stage, for obvious reasons given the cast, they're not all one-to-one, right? I kind of wish that when Sakurai said you can turn any stage into Battlefield or FD, I kind of wished that there would be no changes at all and it would be solely aesthetic. But as we can see here, the aesthetics do change when you end up using these differences. As far as I can tell, the only tournament where that's really mattered so far was the one that, of course, you just saw here in this video posted by Manny, where Spargo lost that game. But it's important to talk about this, and I actually want to shout out Manny and other Steve players that actually share this intel that, to be honest, the average player, even the average pro player, probably would have no idea about. The Steve players actually have a very committed and dedicated community and set of discords, kind of whose sole purpose is to share all these crazy, game knowledge and tech and kind of glitchy stuff. And, depending on whether or not the Steve player is, morally just enough in sharing it to the rest of the community, that definitely can impact rule sets and how we fight the character. Obviously, Steve is the rank 1 character in Smash, so any advancement or any extra warning or tip that you should heed when fighting this character is always very, very much welcome. And me personally, I kind of, when I see these matches play, I think it would be a pretty big telltale sign if you saw the FD variant of Battlefield. I think people would feel that's kind of weird. Or I'm sorry, I guess the Battlefield variant of FD. You don't see that very, very often in tournaments, but I can understand that in regionals or against certain times in pools, to the unsuspecting player, they might use it, and the next thing you know, you're playing against an even more buffed Steve. So keep that in mind. If you're only watching the end of the video, TLDR, do not let Steve go to the Battlefield variant of FD, because on this exact stage, he only mines the shovel, allowing his pickaxe to be far, far, far more durable. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are about it. I recommend everyone share this video around, and shout outs to Manny and of course the Steve community for enlightening us on a lot of these things. I know Rockman has done that in the past too, as well as that brave soldier who first showed PMLG to the entire world. But this is late game Ultimate. This is late game, so I think all bets are off and all the cards should be on the table at this point. So let me know if you know of any more advanced Steve tactics in the year 2025, almost going on 2026. And as always, I'll see you next time.